Hello everyone, welcome to Target Focus Life. This is the first in the series, How to Shotgun. We'll be releasing these videos all throughout the year, but we gotta start at the beginning, eye dominance. Now I know this seems like a simple concept, but it's one of those concepts if you don't understand it and know why it's important, it can be highly frustrating when you're shooting a shotgun. There's a whole lot more to it than what you might think, so stay tuned, let's go. I'm just not the same when I don't have energy and focus. After all, this is Target Focus Life. One of my favorite products from Mountain Ops is Ignite. I have an Ignite almost every morning. It's got like 200 milligrams of caffeine. Gets me jacked up, but not too jacked up, you know what I mean? But what I love most is it has elements in here, ingredients, I won't read them off, but it helps with focus, like clarity and focus. I really feel like I can start my morning out strong, whether I'm in the office or in the field. And this Mountain Ops Ignite Light is a new product, half the caffeine. So I sometimes like another shot of Ignite in the afternoon. I just mix it in with my water, and I don't have to get too much caffeine in the afternoon. I like to tone it down so it doesn't affect my sleep. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Mountain Ops. They make awesome stuff, but we better get back to the video. Let's go! Oh, also, if you want a discount, I got a discount code in the description. First thing we're going to talk about is why understanding eyes and eye dominance is so important in shotgun shooting. Shooting a shotgun is a hand-eye coordination sport. That means we need our eyes and our hands to work together. How shotgunning though is different than a lot of other sports is we're shooting on one side. Our eye is lining up with the rib and looking down it, and we're sort of sighting the gun. Even though that's not where our focus is, we'll talk a whole lot more about that in upcoming videos. But think about that versus, let's say golf. When you golf, you have a dominant eye, but you don't really need to think about it. The ball's down here. Yeah, you might be golfing right-handed, but you're not sighting a club. You're not looking down the club. Basketball, same thing, right? You might be left or right eye dominant. You don't really need to think about it in basketball because whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you come up and shoot eyes focused on the hoop. Dominance is not really something you consider. But we have to consider eye dominance in shotgun shooting. You might find a lot of opinions on this. Some will say it's a huge deal. Some will say, get over it, it's not that big of a deal. I'm more from the camp that it is a huge deal. Reason why? I have seen so many people try to shoot not knowing what side is their dominant eye, and it creates all sorts of issues. This gun is empty, unloaded. I'm gonna point at the camera. Ideally, your dominant eye is looking down the rib, right? And we know, and I know, and now y'all are gonna know, that if I raise my head up, I'm gonna lift the gun up and shoot high. If my eye is off to the side, left or right, I'm gonna shoot more so in the direction that my eye is. Having your eye looking directly down the rib makes a huge impact on your point of impact. So now knowing this, I know I'm strong right eye dominant, and you might be sitting here saying, I know my dominant eye. In fact, if you think you know your dominant eye, put it down below. I'm curious to see. I know there's a lot more left eye dominant people out there than there are left-handed people. We're gonna be doing some tests on how to test your dominant eye in a minute, and it'll be interesting if your results changed at all. And you might say they're not changing at all, but there is one test that maybe you have never tried before that might actually have some different outcomes. So I'm gonna shoot a clay. I know that I'm strong right eye dominant. And you might be thinking, well, strong right eye, what else is there? It's either right or left, right? Not exactly. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna set up to break this target, right-handed, right eye, pull, pull. All right, that was very easy. These are easy targets to hit. Let's just switch to the left side, see what happens. Now I do periodically shoot on my left-handed side. I'm very good at shooting from a lot of different positions. I feel very comfortable with the gun in my hands on the left side. The thing I don't feel comfortable with is my eyes. Things look a lot different because my right eye wants to take over. Pull, pull. I missed both clays on a very easy shot. Now, could I cheat and hit both those? Yes, because I do trick shots and I'm used to shooting from my hip and over the head, but I shot that using my dominant eye. And you might be thinking, well, Steve, couldn't you have just closed your right eye, your dominant eye, and shot left-handed? Not ideally. That is an option. In an upcoming video, we're going to be talking about shooting one-eyed or both-eyed. But for now, I'm just going to say it's ideal to have both eyes open. And there are ways to compensate. We'll dive way deeper into that in those upcoming videos, so stay tuned. So with the dominant eye, yes, we can retrain our brains. I've trained my brain to be able to shoot from the hip, over the head, behind my back, all these different ways. I can see those sight pictures, but I can also tell you those are not the most ideal ways to consistently hit clays or birds in the field. So shooting with our dominant eye is most naturally gonna lead us to the best results the fastest we can get there. Can you shoot one-eyed? Can you shoot on your non-dominant eye? Can you shoot on a gun that doesn't fit you? Yes, you can do so many things. And I'm not here to tell you necessarily everything's right or wrong, but there are preferences on ideals of giving us the best results. So check this out. If you have both eyes open and you point at an object in the distance, I'm gonna point at the camera lens, both eyes open, and I'm gonna close my left eye. My fingers stayed the same. And now I'm gonna alternate my eyes, closing them. Right eye jumped, left eye, right eye jumped. And you'll notice, depending on which eye I have open and closed, my fingers jumping. That's because we perceive visual data differently in our eyes, right? Eye dominance is really the preference of visual data stronger on one eye than it is the other. So me being right eye dominant, if I come up and point, it's aligning with my right eye, just subconsciously, right? So if I close my left, it didn't move. That's because my right eye is the dominant eye. If I close my right, it looked like it jumped. I'm not even pointing at the camera now. But we know I still am pointing at the camera because it was lined up with my right eye. So hold on. If I were to shoot left eye dominant, I'm gonna automatically autocorrect and try to bring it to the left. See this? I'm pointing straight at the camera with my left eye open. But as y'all can tell, I'm actually kind of pointing off the side of the camera. That is why it's important for us to understand the eyes, what's our dominant eye side, because having that information overall is gonna make us much more successful. So how do we test eye dominance? There's a few different ways. The way I just showed you is one way, right? Point at an object, both eyes open, close your left eye. If it does not move, it's because you're right eye dominant. If it does move, that means you're left eye dominant. Okay, that's one way. Another quick way is we frame an object with both eyes open. I got it on the camera lens. Both eyes open, you bring it back to your face, keeping that centered the whole time. Look, I came back to my right eye. Those are okay tests. They kind of tell us our dominant eye, but to what degree? This is the part that maybe you haven't heard of. You might be right eye dominant or left eye dominant, but to what degree? We can actually have a center shift, meaning our dominant point is actually shifted towards our nose, okay? That's important information to have because when we go to a patterning board, it may affect our results. You might be thinking it's gun fit, but it's actually your eyes. So just having this basic understanding, guys, is huge. I cannot stress it enough. My son came out and started shooting with me a couple years ago. He's now 11 years old. And right off the bat, I noticed he was left eye dominant. I didn't know to what degree, but here's a dead giveaway. If someone takes a gun, unloaded, double checked, and they go like this, and then they roll their head over like this, they don't even know what they're doing, but they're trying to get their left eye over that rib. If I ever see that, I have them put the gun down, we test it, and that happens all the time. So I have my son shooting left-handed, and he naturally does that very well because that's how he came up. So here's the test. I want you to try this with somebody. So one person, the guy that's gonna be observing, or a gal, is gonna put a finger under their dominant eye, close their non-dominant eye. This guy is Bob, okay? Meet Bob. He is the observer. Now Steve, the guy doing the test, figuring out his eye dominance, I'm gonna point at Bob's point of his finger, alternating back and forth, like this, right? So Bob's finger is right under his iris, and while Steve is pointing at the tip of that finger, back and forth like this, Bob can see very clearly where Steve is pointing. I've done this. I know that I'm strong right eye dominant because every time I come up alternating my hands, it falls right under my right eye. But I've done this with other people and they do it repeatedly. Instead of falling right under their right eye, it's shifted towards their nose a little bit. So they might be right eye dominant with a center shift. I just did this with somebody the other day, and every time they came up, they were in the middle of their face, like right under their nose. They just did it repeatedly. What that tells me is they may not have a very strong dominant eye. That's important to know. And we'll talk about why in upcoming videos. I'd recommend you try this Bob and Steve test. Ideally with a trained professional, but go ahead and try it with a friend, your spouse, whoever, and let us know what the results were down in the comments. Did you actually have a center shift? It's a lot more common than you might think. But just to recap, shotgun shooting is a hand-eye coordination sport. We're doing it on one side or the other. Therefore, knowing how our eyes work, which one's dominant and how dominant, will help us compensate and shoot better. And that's why we need to know eye dominance. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. We have a lot more of these how to shotgun videos coming up. Remember, whether you're in the field or in life, it's impossible to hit the shots you're not laser focused on with your dominant eye. So live target focused. See ya!